Nintendo knows what Discord is, right? Only a few short days ago at the Nintendo Partner Showcase did we get a look at a pretty weird game. And I say weird because the actual concept behind it I get. The fact that it was given so much screen time at the Direct was a little bit confusing. And after having played it, I can confirm that that confusion was warranted. So I was lucky enough that the folks over at Rapid Reviews UK gave me a code for Chillin by the Fire on the Nintendo Switch 2. And I wanted to share my thoughts on it before I put my full review together for them, but the initial concerns that a lot of people had about this game are fully warranted, I can say for certain. I'm going to be fully transparent here. I didn't get a chance to check out the game chat side of it because unfortunately I haven't got that many friends that have got, one, a lot of free time, and two, Switch 2s. I have got friends. But the premise of Chillin by the Fire is that you are chilling by a fire. You tend to a fire, you create the fire, you keep the fire going, you fuel it, and you just relax. And in theory, that's a really cozy title and I quite like that idea. But when it's put into practice like this, it's not done the way that I would have done it anyway. But then I'm sitting on this side of a camera and not making video games. There isn't a plot, there's no story. Obviously the entire concept is that you are just quite literally building this fire. And I was never any good at building fires when I was a kid. I've gotten a little bit better as I've gotten older, not because of arson, but because I have got friends that have got like fire pits in their back garden, and I'm always the one that is chucking on more wood to try and keep the fire going. Just something I'm infatuated with. I think I like flames, and that is probably a worrying sign. But even without knowing the science of keeping a fire going and no history of Boy Scouts or Duke of Edinburgh awards, I was able to do pretty well in the first stage of this game. And there are 4 stages that it's all set in. One's set in like a beach where you start off, one's up in the mountains, one's in the woods, one's in the snow. And they've all got their different like environmental stuff. One's obviously a bit colder because it's the snow, and one's obviously a bit wetter because it's the rain, so you gotta keep that fire going more. But with all that said, it didn't really change much. When I did dab with other levels, it just felt like the same thing over again. And once you find your groove with it, that's pretty much all you have to do is just keep that fire going. You're given a few simple tools. One is a hatchet to chop up the wood. One's a set of tongs to pick up stuff, and you can't pick up things without using the tongs. One's like a probe to check like the fire out, to see what the temperature is, to see what the oxygen levels are at, to see basically just the stats of what's working there. And then the other one is what they call the fun stuff. But that's where you're going to find things like marshmallows and fireworks, sparklers, and of course it wouldn't be an open fire without a guitar and someone who thinks they can play Wonderwall but really can't. And that's where some of my disappointment came in, because when you're around this fire, you build the fire, and as it levels up and gets bigger and, you know, lasts for longer, you gain some points for it, and you can use those points to change the cosmetics of the stuff that you're using. So you can change the hatchet into a sword or to other stuff. You can change the tongs into like barbecue tongs or whatever you want. You can change your tent into like a castle I had at one point. Your chair can go from a standard like camping chair to a full-on like reclining one. All really cool. The problem is, with the chair and with the tent, you can't interact with it. You walk through them. You do with the chair anyway. I mean, you move so slowly in this game. I didn't actually get a chance to walk over to the tent, because you do move like you're moving through treacle. And the aesthetics on the other stuff don't really change anything. The sound effects change a little bit with the hatchet and tongs, but it's nothing that would actually have ruined the immersion if they hadn't done that. And then you get the the fun stuff, like they say, with the marshmallows, where you have to toast the marshmallows. If you can get it right, you get some more points for that. Just, you know, it's nice, it's fun. But aside from that, it doesn't really change anything. I didn't find myself chilling by the fire. I found myself trying to keep a fire going and then just getting bored. Which is a shame, really, because I like the concept of it. I like the idea of being able to come onto a place and just hang out and chill and just relax. The game even has like these thought-provoking questions on the one side of the screen, which the idea is that if you're playing it with your friends, then you're all together and it will let you then ask those questions and you can talk about those topics. Well, I'm sorry, I love my friends, but I don't care what their usual breakfast is. Like, we're playing like Would You Rather. Like, and then it gets abhorrent, and then it gets to saying things that I can't repeat on here. And carrying on with the presentation side of it, the visuals, they're okay. If you look at Oink Games' other stuff, it fits right in with that, but it doesn't stand out. Biophysics and graphics aren't incredible. The actual aesthetics of the rest of the world really bland and boring, and I get it. It's not some like hyper-realistic camping game. I'm very aware of that, but it does feel a little bit bland and a little bit flat. There are other game modes aside from like the normal game where you can do a survival mode where you have a certain amount of wood that you're allowed to use and you have to keep the fire going at like, I think it's level 3 for so long. I didn't even know what I was doing and I kept it going for 10 minutes. You can even like, once you've used all the wood up, you can just fast forward to the end and let the fire die naturally, and it'll tell you how long it would have taken. And then you've got what they call the playground mode, which is designed for you and your friends to be on there. And there's 4 flame pits and you have to keep it going so you can get the highest one or whatever, but you can just chill as well. I didn't mean to use that, but you know what I mean. Overall, like, it was a really weird game. Now, granted, it's only a few quid. It's like £12, I think, so it's not like massively expensive. If it was like any more, it would be an abhorrent price for it. But for 12 quid, I still wouldn't recommend it. But at the same time, if that is something that you can just, you know, 12 quid for you is not much to worry about, then it could be a laugh. But I wouldn't bother. Just use Discord or WhatsApp, or just chat with your friends like in another way. Like, just use game chat in general and just play other stuff. I get the idea that they're going for it, to try and have a relaxing place for it, but it just doesn't do it for me. The music as well was just forgettable. I was expecting to have some proper, like, tranquil sounds, and it was just audio loops that, once you realize they're looping, just got really boring. And they did change up every once in a while, but it was nothing that sort of stood out. I was expecting like maybe the soundtrack to be the bit which was like the hook. No, it wasn't. I actually did fall asleep during playing this game. Not when I was recording it, but before this I did fall asleep when I set one of the fires up. I chilled way too much. That's not a good thing. You don't want people to fall asleep when you're playing your game. And there's nothing else that you can do really whilst the fire's going. You build the fire and that's pretty much it. There's nothing else happening around you. I've seen people online suggest other stuff, like being able to collect stuff or being able to go fish or whatever, but there's just whatever else you could do isn't there. There's nothing there. It feels like it's missing something. It feels like it's part of a bigger thing that isn't there. And I think that is the problem with just chilling by the fire. I don't understand why it got so much screen time. I don't think we ever will. I get that it's got game chat. I get that it's got the video stuff, so maybe they wanted to show that off more. But yeah, overall, like, it was just really weird and really bland. And I think they chilled a little bit too much with this game. I think my infatuation with fire comes from the fact that my father used to be a fireman, and definitely not because of anything else.